gonna change the world, change the world, change the world, yeah.
Welcome to Celebrate Transformation. My name is Sally Colon-Petree, and I'm joined by my host, Mr. Tim Storey. Hey, Tim.
Good to see you.
Good
What
to
a good
see
guest we have on today. I'm so excited about this guest.
He's so awesome. But I just want to say thank you to our sponsor, Tomorrowland Productions. They're a production company that's doing some really incredible movies and TV shows. So Tomorrowland Productions is our sponsor for today. I'd love to bring on our amazing guest. He's known as the happiness coach. He's been featured on Good Morning America, E! News, Access Hollywood, OWN. He was a coach on Famously Single. So please help me welcome Mr. Rob Mack.
Yeah. What's up, family?
What's up, Rob?
We are family. So, Sally, let me just say this as a man. Man, I'm so proud of Rob. Rob's like a triple threat.
He is.
I mean, he's got so many talents flowing. And then when I heard that he's getting into the field of even like writing, speaking,
yeah,
I'm thinking he's even going beyond.
Oh,
right.
So, Rob, man, this is your time to shine, and I'm proud of you, man.
I so appreciate that. I fully receive that. You know, I take notes off of you too. That's the only way in which I know what to do. I just take notes. I'm like, I'll watch Tim, I'll watch Sally, and I'll do a little bit of what they do, and hopefully it'll add up to something eventually, you know.
Well, we watch you too, so we get notes from you too. So, Rob, first of all, thank you so much for being on with us. And listen, I feel like the lucky girl. I get to see all the good-looking guys. You two are beautiful. Like, how lucky am I that I get to be on the show with you two such handsome men?
We will keep you forever, Sally, saying that. Forever.
Forever. So you're known as the happiness coach. And you have a book called Happiness from Inside Out. That's the name of your book, right? Did I get that right? Okay. So, of course, our show that's the title. It's Happiness from the Inside Out. So tell me about that title.
Yeah. So, like most things, I learned to be happy the hard way. You know, I took a long, scenic path to happiness. I feel like I was born a really unhappy kid. I mean, I remember being unhappy as long as I remember being alive. So I always thought I'd grow out of it, but that didn't happen right away. It just kind of got worse. And I got to a place where I was deeply depressed and suicidal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was suicidal for a solid 2 decades. And so suicidal, eventually I started researching ways to kill myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, you know.
Oof. Well, you know, it's interesting because we know a lot of friends that are struggling, you know, and I think a lot of friends that are struggling currently with everything that's going on and the uncertainty. I'm sure that you know, because you're a life coach, you're a happiness life coach. How do you know, because of your own struggles, how do you life coach people that are currently going through the struggles that you've gone through?
Yeah, I think just to be what you're talking about, right? Like just to be the change. I think that's critical, man. Like, you know, it's so easy to talk a hot game, but to be a hot game is an entirely different matter. So for me, it's like always a selfish thing first. I want to make sure I'm tapped in and tuned in and turned on as humanly possible. So if I can embody a happy, healthy, wealthy sort of, you know, attitude, it's so much more helpful to those folks that I work with. We know emotion is more contagious than anything else on the planet, right? Even the most contagious virus can't compete with emotion. You can pass emotion through, you know, a cell phone or through the social media, through the internet. So I think for me, it's mostly that's first and foremost. It's just being a powerfully peaceful presence.
Very powerful. So, Rob, let me just say this to you. I think that obviously depression and challenges comes in all shapes, forms, and sizes, right? So when someone would just look at you aesthetically, you've been gifted with charisma. I mean, even before you start talking, if someone first meets you, there's a charisma there. The friend that told me about you, they said, "Oh my God, he's great looking. He looks like a model." And so, you know, aesthetically, you were blessed. You were blessed with charisma. So tell me how you had this package you have, but yet you were going through that pain on the inside. What was that?
Well, first, I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit more, Tim, of what else you think about me.
There's more pages. Let me say what Oprah says here, and then Beyonce said.
Oh man, I love you, brother. I love you, man. Like, I thank you. I fully received that. I used to have real difficulty with accepting any kind of compliments, and I was so insecure, quite frankly, that my dad used to joke and say that I was afraid of my own shadow, and I was actually voted most shy of my high school class. Like, so of all the people in the world, honestly, I felt like nobody had less charisma or confidence or competence or looks than I did, and so I always felt that way, and so it was really tough for me to come around to really loving myself, appreciating who I was and what I was. It took me a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort. I think the one thing I did know along the way is that I knew that I was smart enough to know there were smarter people out there in the world who had already solved for the thing that I was trying to solve for. So whether it was charisma or confidence or happiness, I mean, I just drowned myself in as much happiness, content as I could possibly find, as much content around confidence as I could possibly find. So I learned from folks like you, Tim, quite frankly, just drown yourself in that content and practice it consistently. And believe it or not, you can make real significant changes.
That away.
So Rob, when did that switch sort of happen in your life? Like, what was the trigger? What was the event that happened that brought you from shy, oh my gosh, Rob, to dang, Rob?
Oh man, I just gonna save that little snippet, Tim's snippet and the Sally snippet, and play it to myself at night when I'm crying myself to sleep. But, I mean, seriously, honestly, I had gotten and become so depressed. It was beyond dysphoria. I was deeply depressed, and I was thinking about suicide more than I was thinking about anything else. So I finally decided that I was going to slit my wrist. And I remember, I went to the kitchen, got a kitchen knife.
Wow.
Yeah, and I dug it in my wrist. You probably can't see on the screen, but I still have the test marks there to this day. And something extraordinarily unexpected and unpredictable happened, which is that suddenly, for no good reason, at least I thought at the time, later I discovered there was a really good reason, but for no good reason, I felt this inexplicable peace and this limitless love and this sort of deep bliss wash over me in that moment. And, it was very strange. It was not what you would ever expect. So in that moment, I thought, I'll put off suicide for an hour. That was it. It was an hour. And to now today, it's sort of almost laughable that I would only say an hour, but to me, that felt like a lifetime. So I said, I'll put it off for an hour. In the back of my head, I wasn't even committed to the full hour. But I said, I'm going to do a little research and see if I can't figure out what's going on with me.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Before long, that hour bled into a day and several days, and now it's been 2 decades. The entire time, all I really did was try to find ways to be happy and really practice what I read, what I heard, what I saw that worked.
Okay, Rob, can you help us with kind of a lot of people watching right now that are kind of living, as I teach, they're stuck in an almost life and, things are almost working. How can they start taking steps towards a happier life? If you could just walk us through a process.
Absolutely. So I'd say, the very most important thing you could possibly do is prioritize happiness, your happiness, above everything and even everybody else in the world. When you're happy, you are a gift to the world. You're a gift to the world anyway, but when you're happy and you're tapped into and turned on, you are not only more charitable and more generous, but you're much kinder as well, right? And so when you're happy, you're a much, quote unquote, better person, and you come from a much less selfish place with your giving, right? So the first thing is to recognize that. The second thing to recognize is that when you're committed to happiness, you improve the odds and the likelihood of success in all areas of your life. So when you're happy, so happy people, they live 6 to 7 years longer. They make $600,000 to $700,000 more over the course of their entire lifetime. They get married earlier, stay married longer, are happier in all the relationships, whether they're married or not. They experience less job burnout, all the good stuff. So if you care about success, when you care about other people, the one thing you really want to do is commit to happiness and make it the top priority in your life. That's number one. If you just did that, that'll take you all the way home because everything else would just show up, right?
Yeah.
The second thing I would encourage people to do is just make a list. Make a list of things that allow you to feel happy, to be alive, or inspired, or excited for no good reason. Call that a happy finance list, and do what you can to schedule more of those activities, people, places into your life.
Love it.
Nice.
Give me a little bit about where you started to research happiness. Did you get into psychology books? Did you go on a retreat? And as Sally uses that word trigger, what triggered you to now then start to study?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So, I grew up, I think, in one of the most loving families ever. Lots of stress, but so loving. And I grew up in a Christian household. And I was just like, from a very early age, I was kind of obsessed with the Bible and understanding the Bible. And that being said, it was a very sort of anxious, conflict-ridden experience for me. I started in like the Old Testament, and that was probably not a good idea for like a 7-year-old. Okay, it was very scary.
I agree.
I was like really young, man. I was like really, and I remember, that really confusing me for a while, right? And that was part of what contributed actually to my suicidal ideation. After the suicidal experience, it's interesting because I couldn't return to, of course, reading the Bible or anything spiritual like that at all. But I did discover Abraham Hicks, and Abraham Hicks they were talking about positive thoughts and positive thinking and positive emotions, but from a slightly spiritual or strongly spiritual perspective. And then that led me to more spiritual stuff. And then I read Buddhist texts and Taoist texts, and then I was led back to the Bible, and I was able to see it with brand new eyes, with a fresh perspective. And then I was able to dive back into the psychology as well. And so I've really read as much as I can, both in the psychology world and the spiritual, world. And I would say, that particularly applied positive psychology has been, helpful to me from a scientific perspective. But all spiritual texts have been extraordinarily helpful, including, of course, the Bible.
Very good.
I think it's so important, the message that you're, sharing, and it's so vulnerable, and it's so like just completely opening up. And I know that probably in the beginning wasn't easy to share, because I think sometimes when we think we're the only ones that are going through heartache and depression and, suicidal tendencies or thoughts, that it's just us. And I was talking about this on the other show, and that creates this shame, right, that we feel. But who was there? Like, who was there to help you through the process? Like, when, if there's somebody watching, we have up to 35 million people here on Jesus Daily that could be watching, that maybe have these thoughts of, there's nobody here, I'm depressed, COVID, I lost my job, whatever the situation is. Like, how do you talk somebody through the process of saying, no, I want to live?
Yeah, I don't think you try to. I think the danger is trying to convince someone to not do what they have in mind to do. That often backfires. Right. And there's a bit of a confirmation bias that plays there. And so you want to be careful about that. I think instead you want to connect. It's mostly about connecting. So instead of trying to change people's minds through facts or through logic or through reason, people don't need our logic nearly as much as they need our love. Right. So you can connect.
Fantastic.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, it's like just connecting, active listening, being a powerful, peaceful presence, meeting them where they are, not trying to talk them into your way of seeing things, but just meeting them where they are. And all the while, on the inside, still maintaining that peace and that knowingness that all is well. You got to maintain. That's a very difficult thing to do. Most of us get sucked into the story, into their drama and the trauma that they're experiencing. So you want to be careful about that. Meet them where they are with your words. Don't try to convince them. Come from a place of love and non-judgment. And on the inside, you've got to know that all is well still. No matter what happens here, all is always well.
I like that. Rob, we have a couple questions, and I want to find out more about how to get your book, how to book you for a podcast, to speak, etc. Sally, Rob's taking over. I'm just going to tell you.
Oh, man.
Move over Tim Storey, Gary V, Grant Cardone, Ed Milet,
Jay Shetty,
Tony Robbins, Jay Shetty. Rob, I told you in the studio, this is you, man. But I'm happy about it.
I want to Venmo you, but I don't think I can possibly send a Venmo. Worth enough.
Venmo me, go.
You, of course, you, Sally. There's no question about that.
I know when someone's next. He's next. Okay, I'm going to show you a little graph here. You see that?
What is that?
Okay, so the straight line the straight line, and then the wiggly line. Now, do you believe, Rob, that somebody can be like a straight line happy, or do we have to be happy and sad, happy and sad, happy and sad, happy and sad?
Good
Go
one.
with the happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad first, because that's how most people are. Happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad.
Gosh, Tim, such a great question. This is why I love conversations with you guys. Like, if you don't know, Sally and Tim are like this every day in real life. Like, this is actually who they are. Like, it's mind blowing. That's why they're so good at what they do, and I mean that. So yeah, I would say that most of us experience life just like that wavy line, the ebb and the flow, the ups and the downs, the roller coaster experience. And I would say the challenge there and the opportunity there is to recognize and realize that happiness isn't pleasure. It's pleasurable, but it's not pleasure, you know, and it might be full of anticipation, but it doesn't equal anticipation. It might be full of excitement and even filled, right? But it's not, happiness isn't excitement. It's not entertainment. It's not lust, right? And so when you dive deeper, you discover that there's this lasting, abiding, meaningful experience of who you are. It's not just what's inside you, but what you are. That peaceful, lasting, meaningful, abiding experience really of your own existence is happiness already. So it's sort of like watching a movie on a movie screen, and the screen itself is always perfectly immovable, unshakable, and unconditional in its peace. And the images that get projected on the, on the screen, they have you excited 1 second and then sad the next. And we get so caught up in the images, we forget totally about the screen back of it. And that screen essentially exists within all of us, and it really is all of us. But that feeling of peaceful aliveness that at first, let's say you're meditating or praying, it doesn't feel like a whole lot. First, when you start meditating or praying, it feels kind of almost like boredom.
Yeah.
With time, it just becomes full of this peaceful aliveness, and you discover this happiness is underneath that wavy line roller coaster experience, right? Like that's why. Well, Tim set me up for it. He drew it perfectly.
So good.
Don't you ever forget that, because that was a great answer.
It really was. It was so real. If people can hold on to that, grab it, right? What you said, those words, life-changing.
So can I just add to this as a veteran, because I've been doing life coaching for like 38 years, is that, Rob, that was such a great answer, because I think that you can maintain the straight line, and it's that consistency, and drama will hit. So drama is this, but you don't have to get dramatic in the midst of the drama.
Love that.
So you can just stay here and choose not to get dramatic in the midst of the drama, and you can maintain this.
Oh,
yes,
absolutely. You just nailed it.
So good. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for Rob. All right. I'm just going to get right down to it.
Uh-oh.
Why in the world are you still single? Give it to me straight, okay?
When you got all that, that's too many choices.
Inquiring minds want to know. Let's go.
It's a great question. The truth is that part of it is like, I love being single. Like, I like being single. I enjoy it. But I also love being in a relationship. So I don't really have a deep preference around it. I love my own aloneness, and that wasn't always the case. But when you discover how much you love to be alone and your own aloneness, because it's time spent with God or meditating or whatever it is that you do, it's, epic. It's just so incredibly exciting and enjoyable. I also love being in a relationship, right? And part of the, I think the challenge and opportunity for me is that I also love being of service. Like, I love it. Like, I like being helpful. And, I will sometimes joke, you meet someone and I'll say, listen, I don't mean it in a Drake way. Drake means it a whole nother way, which is so much bigger than the way, but you don't want this life, you just don't want it. Cause I work, I get up at 3:30, I work all day, back-to-back clients. And, there doesn't leave a whole lot of room for someone else. And, it doesn't mean I would eliminate it as a possibility, but, I'm clear about what my purpose is. And I find it incredibly uplifting and fun. And, so I'm staying open.
Okay. Well, then just one more question, because I don't want to get off this subject yet. Five things you look for in a woman.
Oh.
If God said, Rob, I'm bringing you a woman, Give me the 5. What are they?
Okay. You don't have to call it a spiritual path, but you got to be on some kind of path of personal development. Okay. We'll just call it that. Okay. Kind, no question. Kind is probably, and non-judgmental might even be above. I'd say those are almost synonyms almost. And if not happy, at least aspiring to be happy. I think it's, because the challenge is there's nothing better than being with someone who gives from their overflow, and there's nothing worse than being with someone who gives, from a place of scarcity, and everything that they give comes with countless strings attached, This,
right.
Nothing worse than that, And so I would say that those are the top 4 or 5, and it doesn't hurt if she's also beautiful on the outside in the way that you are, Sally, and beautiful on the inside.
I mean, call me.
Sally, he just gave you a compliment on Jesus Daily.
Thank you. I love you, Rob. I love you.
I love you so much.
All right, Rob Mack. So, Rob, tell us how we can get your book. Obviously, follow you on Instagram, social media. What's the best way?
So you can find Happiness from the Inside Out everywhere great books are sold, including Barnes & Noble and Amazon, in the store and online. You can find me at coachrobmack.com. And you can also find me on all social media platforms, most notably Instagram at Rob Mack, M-A-C-K official.
Yes. And you're a coach, you're a speaker, and an author.
Truth. That's right.
So if you're looking for someone to come speak at your event,
phenomenal
guy. Come on.
I might come with my entourage just to let you all know.
Exactly.
Like extra though for Tim and Sally, that's gonna be a lot of extra.
That's right. It'll be powerful though if it's us 3.
That is true.
Thank you, Rob, for taking the time, man. We love you.
Dude, I love you guys so very
much. Thank you so much for being on and blessing people in the world. Just keep doing the things you're doing, man. You're so powerful. Awesome.
Makes one to know one. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Sally, I love what he's talking about, because truly, as he was saying, you can maintain happiness. It doesn't have to go up and down, up and down, up and down. And happiness is not a destination. I've been following him a lot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends have been having him on podcasts and he really is coming up strong. So if you want to book him, we're going to have all his information right there. And he's a phenomenal speaker, great communicator, and a humanitarian. He cares about people. You've known him a long time.
Absolutely. He's got the best energy too. He walks in a room and he's just happy. I love it. I'm like, how could somebody be that happy? But he is. He's that happy all the time. And I love it. One thing, he was talking about suicide. I do want to put the suicide hotline up.
Yes.
Because there's somebody that's struggling right now. You're watching this show and you're not in a good place. There's no one around you. You feel alone. You feel dark. I want to tell you that there is a suicide hotline that you can call. It's 1-800-273-8255. We'll have it down in the screen. And just know that there is help. So please, if you're in, that place, like there is help and we love you and, we'll pray for you. Send us a private message and we'll be happy to pray for you. Super, super good. All right. So the shows just continue to get better and better. And make sure for all you that are watching right now, you share because you care. Let other people know about this terrific program, how we're helping people. We also want to say, if you want to be a sponsor, whether you have a restaurant or a business or something that you do, it's a win-win, because we're going to talk about your company or your product. And then also you're helping us to change people's lives. And so all the information is right there below. If you'd like to become a sponsor, then just reach out to us and we will dialogue with you. Absolutely. And speaking of sponsor, we'd like to thank our sponsor for today is Tomorrowland Productions. It's a production company here locally in Los Angeles that's putting out incredible family-friendly movies, television shows. They're writing a script. I'm actually involved with this particular company. I'm writing my first script because of them. I'm part of a writing team. They're incredible. So thank you, Tomorrowland, for supporting us today. And this has been such an incredible show. Rob he's so good looking. It's like, though I'm sure the women are like, how do we get a hold of Rob? You know. But anyway, we thank you guys all for watching. Please continue to watch. And if you're interested in coaching with myself or Tim, you can go to celebratetransformation.org. All the information is there. And we're just thank you guys for joining us again.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
I'm gonna change the world, change the world.